The Galactic Council meets in arrogant confidence, dismissing the ancient warnings about humans. But one elder doesn't laugh, and he's been watching Earth too long to joke. The others mock. Right until the first signal cuts in. They're still using combustion engines. They can't even fold space, snorted Chancellor Kravix, his crest feathers twitching with disdain. Laughter bounced across the obsidian chamber of the Threxian High Council. 62 delegates, each representing a different world, united in smug dismissal. Primitive species. Let them bark at their little moon, another counselor said, swirling a glass of iridescent plasma wine. But Elder Vorin didn't laugh. His eyes milky with age, but sharp with memory, remained locked on the projection above the table. It showed Earth, blue, fragile, loud. And underneath it, rows of reports. Wars, weapons, survivors, silence. Do you know what I saw in them? Vorin whispered. Obsession? Kravix mocked. You've been watching that planet since the old cycles. They're loud, disorganized, emotional. Vorin stood, his breath caught for half a second. The room hushed, not out of respect, but because it was rare for him to move. He tapped a console. A recording played. No visuals. Just audio. Blackout protocol initiated. All hands, brace for hostile boarding. If you're hearing this, we've already failed. The voice was human. Calm. Too calm. Kravix waved a claw. Old war relic. They destroy themselves more often than they breathe. Listen to how he says it, Vorin replied. No fear, not even hatred, just ... inevitability. Another delegate leaned in. So what? Their weapons are crude. Their AI laughable. They have no AI, Vorin said flatly. They didn't outsource thinking. They trained pain. The room stilled. Suddenly, the walls vibrated. Not from within, but from something distant. A silent ripple in the foldnet. Dozens of data streams paused. Eyes turned to the central console. Incoming message. Unsanctioned broadcast origin. Unknown. Human vessel content. Single alien Ethan. It displayed, we warned you not to watch. Who sent that? Kravix barked. The tech priest nearby swallowed. We don't know. The signal, it bypassed every firewall. It didn't arrive. It was already here. Now no one was laughing. The counselor from the Velari leaned forward. You mean to say they've been inside our systems? Not systems, Vorin said. Our minds, our assumptions. They know exactly how we think. Because unlike us, they learn from pain. Another voice broke the tension, a young diplomat, barely into his first cycle. This is theater. They're just posturing. No, Vorin said softly. They're rehearsing. A long silence, and then, like a whisper, threading through the room's static, we'll respond when it matters. A second signal. This one embedded in the star charts. Half the galactic core flickered off, not destroyed. Not blocked. Just ... gone ... and no one could explain it. Double quotes. They ... They can't do that, someone said, but Vorin only turned toward the council doors. I told you before, he said as he stepped out. Mercy was never the warning. Mercy was the bait. And the door hissed shut behind him. They thought it was mercy. It wasn't. And that was before Earth even responded. As the Galactic Council reels from the cryptic Earth transmission, a covert recon vessel near human territory intercepts something it shouldn't. What begins as a routine scan turns into a deadly mistake, because this time, the humans notice. The ship drifted like dust over glass, silent, sleek, cloaked in a distortion field engineered over 6 centuries. The Corellian Whisper was the Threxian Empire's most advanced recon vessel, capable of slipping past quantum barriers undetected. It had ghosted through over 99 civilizations undisturbed. But this wasn't just any patrol. This was Earth. Inside the dim observation deck, Commander Silta watched the blue marble from a distance of 11.2 AS. She tapped her claws against the console, the vibration syncing with her anxious pulse. Still no response, her second officer, Jur, muttered. It's as if they haven't detected us. They saw us, Silta said. Jur blinked. Theirs. No indication. They always see us. She wasn't being poetic. She meant it. The last transmission from the High Council had changed everything. The message. The one that wasn't sent through normal frequencies, that simply appeared, had passed through FoldNet, neural relays, even Dreamcatch AI across 3 sectors. A message like that didn't ask for permission, and now they were. Here, watching Earth, hoping it didn't look back. Scan again, she ordered. Jur hesitated. Commander, we're under strict shadow orders. Active scan might trigger. Do it. He obeyed. A pulse. Then a second. Then nothing. Except for a single alert that shouldn't have existed. Reflective anomaly detected. Source unknown. Proximity 14 kilometers. What the hell is that close? Jur gasped. Silta's blood ran cold. Impossible. Nothing could have approached. Without tripping the phase grid. Unless it didn't approach, Jur whispered. Unless it was always there. They turned the exterior cam, slowly rotating the view, and there it was, a vessel, small black, floating dead center behind them. Sleek brutal human. It had no lights, no weapons ports, no emissions. Just a single phrase painted in dull white across its hull. We see what watches. Move us, Silta snapped. Now. The ship responded, but sluggishly, like it had forgotten how to run. The lights dimmed. Another pulse. This time, a voice followed. You were warned. It wasn't broadcast. It came from inside the ship. Ruar. Turned, his skin pale. Commander, they're in our systems. No, they're in us. She pulled up the emergency phase jump coordinates, but they were already locked out. The controls displayed a new location. Earth. You need to see. The voice whispered. Sil single quotes gritted her teeth. Shut it down, everything. Kill the core if you have to. Jur ran his hands over the haptic panel, but it didn't respond. His voice cracked. They've overwritten the failsafes. The vessel began to move, not of their own volition. Straight toward Earth, slow, unstoppable. Silta backed away from the console. Then the screens flickered. Footage began to play. Human battles. Their wars, genocides, sacrifices, victories, rebellions, but not from satellites. From their eyes. Helmet cams. Chest recordings. Some so raw they hadn't even been uploaded, just remembered. I don't understand, Jur said, shivering. Why? Show us this? Silta whispered, because they want us to feel it. It was true. This wasn't a threat. It was a confession. And it didn't end. More came faster, more brutal. Children surviving orbital bombardments. Civilians executing. Occupying soldiers. Troops charging into plasma fire without backup. AI units refusing retreat orders to shield wounded comrades. Again and again, endless. Relentless. Silent. We're not meant to win, Jur said, trembling. We were never meant to win against them. No, Silta murmured. We were meant to understand. And then the final clip, a human alone in a ruined trench. Bloodied, breathing heavy. He looked at the camera and said, We don't stop because we're strong. We stop when there's no one left to stop us. The screen went black. Then it returned to that same painted phrase on the black vessel outside. We see what watches. The Corellian whisper stopped moving. Engines dead. Systems locked. And somehow, through no obvious force, they were now back at the edge of council space. They hadn't jumped. They've been returned. Jur collapsed into his seat, pale. Why would they let us go? Silta didn't answer immediately. She looked. One last time at the view of Earth. And then she said, They didn't let us go. They sent us back. To warn you. And for the first time in her career, she was shaking. The Threxian Council convenes again in chaos as word of the Corellian. Whispers and counter spreads. One of Earth's ships has now breached a secure border without activating a single alarm. Panic rises as they realize the humans aren't approaching war. They're already inside. They should not be here. Chancellor Kravex's voice cracked. The usual arrogance burned into something raw, something shaken. The Grand Council chamber blazed with overlapping transmissions, sensor feeds, and speculation. Some delegates shouted over one another. Others had already evacuated from neighboring systems. The Corellian Whispers crew had been recovered, but they weren't talking. Literally. All three of them sat in medical. Isolation. Silent. Eyes open, mouths shut, like something in them had shut off. This is psychological warfare. Someone barked. They used illusions, trickery. Was it trickery when they disabled our strongest stealth vessel and returned it to our doorstep? Another answered. The delegation from the Valari Alliance displayed the intercepted footage across the center holosphere. The black ship, the painted warning, the trench recording. The cold, horrifying simplicity of it. A single phrase echoed over the chamber like smoke clinging to old bone. We see what watches. The younger delegates whispered among themselves, while the elders didn't move at all. They had heard stories from before the records were cleaned. When Earth still appeared in the galactic map. No one had spoken its name in 2,000 years, not out of fear, out of strategy. You don't speak storms into being, and yet the storm had already seen them. An aide sprinted in, stumbling over. Her own words. Emergency Alert Council Defense Grid Theta 7 has been tripped? Where? Kravex demanded. She swallowed hard. Not where, when. The signal was recorded 12 minutes ago. We're only just seeing it now. Impossible. The Theta 7 defense grid was the innermost layer wrapped around their diplomatic core, protected by folds, encryption, anti-causality shielding. Not even time itself could eavesdrop in that zone. Something had breached it. 12 minutes ago. And no one noticed. Until now, a new hologram rose. Not a fleet. Not an army. A single ship. Human architecture, no question. Obsidian black. No energy trace. No markings. Just its presence like a cold hand resting on the back of every throat. How did they get in? A delegate asked. No one had an answer. They've been in, said a voice at the edge of the room. Vorin had returned, his robe darker than before. His movements slow, like he'd seen the end and come back only to narrate it. We thought we were watching them. But every telescope, every scan, every probe was a door we left open. A technician across the room began scanning the human vessel. No energy, no biological crew. Wait, there's something inside. Magnify, Kravex said. The image zoomed. A single form stood at the center of the vessel. It wasn't human. It wasn't anything. A humanoid shape carved in metal. No movement. No heat. Just stillness. What is that? Someone whispered. The chamber's AI voice responded on its own. Designation unknown. Approximate match. Memorial structure. Material. Human-formed obsidian composite. Function. Warning. Everyone. Froze. Not a weapon. A memorial. It hadn't come to fight. It had come to mark the place, like a gravestone. Are they declaring us dead? A young counselor gasped. They're giving us a chance, Vorin said quietly. A final chance to listen. And what if we don't? Vorin turned. His eyes didn't blink. They won't be merciful twice. Across the hall, An emergency alert pulsed. This one from an Allied outpost on the edge of Threxian space. Human signal detected. System-wide memory loss initiated. Outpost automated defense failed to respond. One word recovered from destroyed log. Observe. Panic spread now. Not through fear of fleets or bombs or collapse, but through the realization that they were never in control. They weren't losing. They had already lost and hadn't even noticed. Chancellor Kravik slammed his claw on the table. We must prepare a response. Not another warning, a show of strength. Strength? Vorin whispered. You want to fire weapons at the species that broke causality just to send us a message? We are the Council. Kravix roared. No. Vorin said coldly. We were? The room stilled. A hum rose. No device. No machine. Just. A feeling. Of being watched. They turned toward the massive display wall. It flickered, then turned black. And in white, handwritten script. You weren't silent. You were loud, proud. But we listened, and now we speak. Once. A final line appeared. Do not respond, just remember. And then the power failed across all systems. No lights. No data. No escape. Just the sound of breath and the understanding. The humans hadn't returned. They'd never left. The galaxy stood still, not in orbit or physics or politics, but in memory. Across thousands of worlds, lights flickered. Not from weapons, not from attacks, from sudden understanding. You don't prepare for a storm that's already passed through you. You count the pieces and hope it doesn't turn around. The council chamber remained dark. No one dared move. No one dared speak. Vorin's breathing was shallow, not out of fear, but mourning. I told them, he whispered, to no one in particular. I warned them not to mistake stillness for safety. The remaining delegates, those who hadn't fled, stared at the blank transmission wall. Their own ships had stopped responding. No control. No override, but no damage. Either. Just. Stillness. A silence so complete it wrapped around them like a truth too sharp to touch. Are we under attack? Someone finally asked. No, Vorin answered. Then why can't we move? Why can't we speak to our systems? Because they want us to listen. The oldest Velari delegate, a creature with translucent skin and memory-sealed veins, finally stepped forward. He'd been silent for decades. My ancestors, he said slowly, once traded with Earth, briefly, before it all went dark. They never told us what happened, only that the trade routes were sealed with a single phrase. He looked up, voice cracking. Let them grieve in peace. Another delegate leaned in, stunned. Grieve? For what? Vorin answered, for everything. The walls lit up again, not from Earth, but from within the Council's own system. Archives. Old. Scrub. Buried. Now. Unlocked. The logs rolled across the chamber floor. Footage. Records. Testimonies. Things the Council had hidden from itself. Things they hoped would never be found again. Entire wars against Earth. Secret coalitions. Failed invasions. Annihilated fleets. Thousands of soldiers vanished. Not killed. Not even destroyed. Just disappeared. And every log ended the same way. Do not pursue. Let them remain forgotten. One of the younger analysts trembled. They. Let us erase history? No, Vorin said. They watched us erase it. A few delegates gasped. Another delegate dropped to her knees, whispering old prayers, not to gods. To ghosts. Because now they saw it. This wasn't retribution. This was a reckoning of memory. Earth had waited. Not because they couldn't strike, but because they didn't need to. Fear grows best when nothing feeds it. And now the silence had become their voice. On a remote screen in one of the secondary chambers, a single image blinked to life. The same. Black vessel as before, still, alone, but now there was movement. I saw. Small hatch opened on its side, and something drifted out. Not a bomb, not a drone. A sphere, crystal, polished, inside, a projection played on loop. A child, human, brown skin, wearing a tattered jacket, kneeling beside another child, shielding them from falling debris. Above them, a burning sky, and the child looked up at the camera, said nothing, just stared, as if daring the galaxy to explain. Why the feed looped again? That same stare, no blame, just exhaustion, no hatred, just endurance. That was the answer, not power, not domination, just the uncheckable human truth. They didn't need to conquer. They only needed to survive louder than anyone else could scream. For a long time, no one in the chamber moved. Finally, Kravik's shaken, hollow spoke. What do we do now? Voron answered without turning. Remember. A final message appeared on every device, every console, every relay, whether powered or not, across star systems, across species. Just 2 lines. We asked for nothing. You gave us reason. And below that, a date, not Earth time, Council time. Exact day the Council launched its first covert assault on a forgotten Earth colony. The war they pretended never happened. The war they lost before it began. The one they covered in silence. Now. No longer forgotten. Voron looked up. They gave us a gift, he said softly. What gift? Someone whispered. A second chance. And if we waste it? The lights dimmed. The crystal sphere blinked out, and silence returned. This time, not enforced, but respected. Because now they knew the elders hadn't warned the Council out of fear. They'd warned them out of memory. Humans didn't shout their vengeance. They whispered it through centuries of silence, and when the galaxy finally listened, there was nothing left to say.